on your feet! Let's go! Get on your feet, let's go! Let's go! Who's ready for day 2? LOSummit! All right, DJ, let's cut it. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here on day 2. Let's hear who's excited to be here for day 2. Nah, I mean, who is excited to be here for day 2? I know all of you took to heart yesterday about taking action. Who took action yesterday? Good. We're going to do it right now. Hey, you know I love it. Get out your phones right now. We're going to take action right now. Hurry, get out your phone. This morning, as I was in the gym, I got a text from my wife. And she says, Josh, I love you. I'm grateful for you. I want you to take your phone right now, and I want you to take a short video, 10 seconds or less. No second try, one shot, and just do a quick video of what you're grateful for. I'm going to do it with you right now. Do it. What are you grateful for? Simple, short. I'm grateful to be here with my incredible mortgage family and community. Let's go! That's it. You've now taken action. You've begun your day. We have an absolutely incredible day. We've got Barry Habib. We've got Matt Ishbia. We've got Les Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the honor to get things kicked off today, to introduce one of my good friends, who is one of the leaders that continues to help me, to guide me in the market. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the stage Chris Mozilo from New Res.
Thank you, Josh. Appreciate that. Man, he did a great job riling up the crowd, so thank you. Like Josh said, my name's Chris Mozilo. I'm Divisional Vice President at New Res, formerly Caliber. We've been doing business since day one with Nexa. Christine Steele, one of our account executives here, has gotten a lot of shout-outs for being the first AE to get Nexa approved. We also have with us Stephanie Glenn. She's another one of our account executives that helps to support Nexa. And of course, Tony Cottonbrock, who you saw on the executive panel yesterday as well. So we're really excited to be a part of this. And I'm extra excited. I've known Barry Habib for a long time. This is the first time I get to introduce him at an event. Barry's an amazing speaker, one of the most knowledgeable people in our industry. He's an American entrepreneur, frequent media resource for his mortgage and housing expertise. He's also an Amazon #1 best-selling author for his book, Money in the Streets. You've seen him frequently on CNBC and Fox. He is the CEO of MBS Highway, the industry's most highly regarded and recognized tool for transforming salespeople like you into mortgage advisors. He's won a bunch of awards, including 3-time Crystal Ball Award winner, I love the name of that, for 2017, 2019, and 2020 by Zillow and Pulsonomics for the most accurate real estate forecasts out of 150 top economists in the U.S. We're very interested to hear what is in Barry's crystal ball this morning. He was the 2019 Mortgage Professional of the Year by National Mortgage Professional Magazine. He was a 2019 finalist for the prestigious Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. He was named to the esteemed Mortgage Global 100 list by Mortgage Professional, and he was also the St. Armand Ventures Businessman of the Year in 2021. Barry is an innovator. He's founded many successful businesses across different verticals, including Mortgage Market Guide, Healthcare Imaging Solutions, Certified Mortgage Associates, and is a founding partner in Experience.com. Don't forget that Barry was also a mortgage originator, very successful, and originated over $2 billion in his career personally as a mortgage originator. He's a Renaissance man. He's a lead producer and managing partner for Rock of Ages, hit Broadway show, 27th longest running show in Broadway history. He produced Chris Angel's Mind Freak at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. He is the highest rated speaker and trainer for over 25 years in mortgage and real estate. And Barry's Certified Mortgage Advisor course is renowned for elevating the level of professionalism and mortgage knowledge in our industry. Before we bring Barry up, we're going to show a really quick video, and then Barry come up and tell us what's in his crystal ball.
Techniques and strategies that Barry has is hands down some of the best in the industry.
This morning, I cited Barry Habib, who's had an outstanding record as the mortgage interest rate follower.
I'll tell you something, I'm not too good to wash my hands. I try and learn every single day.
That's a big number. That's the number that Barry Habib called for and all of Art Cashin's followers have been looking for quite a while. See if it holds. That's a big deal today.
Who, though, would have predicted our 10-year yield would have fallen below 0.5%? Last Thursday, the Clayman Countdown brought in mortgage expert Barry Habib. Hope you guys were watching because here's what he said.
I think the bond market in the 10-year goes to about 0.5%. Very realistic, in my opinion.
Boy, was he right.
And this man knows more about real estate, markets, interest rates. If you want to be prepared for what's coming.
All right, guys, so listen, where are things going? Where are we headed?
What motivates you? Do you know what motivates the people
Ladies and gentlemen, get on your feet. Put your hands together for the one, the only, Barry Habib!
Hey, everybody. Good morning. How are you guys? All right, you guys are like the survivors from last night, huh? How are you? Good, good. Okay, we got a lot going on, so I'm going to get right to it because these are crazy times, aren't they? I mean, we know that it could be a little bit scary. I get it. I know we went from doing lots of volume and having all kinds of issues and problems with how am I going to get all this business done and how am I going to have a personal life to now things are slower and a little bit more of a concern, perhaps, of what are we going to do? Listen, just like you, I originated loans for a long time. And when I did, I know what it's like, just like you, to start every month at zero. Hey, if I could ask you on the audio just to take down some of the highs and maybe bring down the volume a hair for me, please. So, team, here's the thing, is that, number one, right now, whether you believe it or not, you want this market. You want this. This is exactly the market you want because out of this market is born opportunities. It's opportunities for your clients and it's opportunities for you. Thank you. This is where Nexa, this is where your team gets to outshine your competition. When it was crazy, everybody was doing all kinds of loans, and you didn't really get to show your level of expertise and the differentiators that you have to help people. Well, now you get to do that. And while I know it can be scary, here's a spoiler alert. There's good news on the way. There really is. There's good news on the way. It is in the not too distant future. Rates are going to come down. But I can't just tell you that. I'm going to show you and break it down for you logically why. And in addition to that, I don't want to just show you something so that you guys could say, okay, I understand it. I want to break this down for you in a way that you can teach it. Because it is now more important than ever that you teach this in the media, you teach this with your customers, you teach this with your referral sources, because real estate agents need you desperately right now to help them. So do your clients, because if they don't listen to you, they're missing out on the greatest opportunity that there can be in real estate right now. This is it right now. I'm going to break all that down for you. And taking this message and using something like the amazing Josh Pitts to show you how to make posts of this and how to get this word out to the masses, this is exactly the market you want. So listen, let's get right down to it. So first of all, what I want to explain to you is, and this is something you think we've learned from day one, what drives mortgage rates? Should be, I know somebody knows the answer, good, very good. So most people in your industry do not understand what drives mortgage rates. The media certainly doesn't understand it. Your realtors have a tough time with it, and your clients, oh, it's the Fed, the Fed's hiking mortgage rates. No, the Fed doesn't have anything to do with mortgage rates. Well, it's government control. It is not. Here's the one thing that controls mortgage rates: inflation. Inflation causes mortgage rates to rise or mortgage rates to drop. So, why is that so? Let's break it down so you understand it. Let's use some easy numbers. Say that you're in the business of loaning money. So what you do is you have a pool of assets, then you loan that money out in mortgages, then you take those mortgages, you sell them, and then you replenish your pool, and then you can go out and do more mortgages. That's, everybody understand me so far? Give me a yes. Okay. You give me a mortgage, and that mortgage, let's call it, it's $400,000 mortgage, and I make you a payment of $2,000 a month. For the most part, it's going to be a fixed payment. Like 90% of loans are fixed, and even on the rest of them that are ARMs, the vast majority are hybrid ARMs, so that's going to be fixed for a long time. You get a check this month that says $2,000 from me. You go out and you buy a shopping list of stuff, goods and services for $2,000. You get everything on your list for exactly $2,000. Next month, I give you another check, and you get everything on the list. But over time, you discover, hey man, I can't get everything on my list anymore. And the reason is because of inflation. Inflation, things start costing more. So, hey, wait a minute, where it used to cost me just this much, now each item costs more, so I can't get everything on that list anymore. The check still says $2,000 that you get from me, but it doesn't feel like $2,000 used to feel. Does that make sense? So, you can't do anything about the loan you gave me already, right? That's done, you've sold it. But on the new mortgages that you do, because this is what you do, you have to contemplate that. You got to think about the fact that, hey, inflation's making prices go up. The buying power of the fixed payment that somebody's going to receive on that, the investor's going to receive, is going to be whittled away. It's going to erode more rapidly. So what's my only defense? What do I have to do so I can sell that mortgage? You have to say this confidently, folks. Listen, this is the most important thing, I think, in communication with your customers is confidence, okay? If your customer says, well, what's going to happen with rates? Well, you can't do that, okay? What's your only defense if inflation starts eating away? How are you going to make that mortgage saleable to somebody else if they know the fixed payment's going to be eaten away more rapidly? What do you tell them? I'm going to raise what? Raise the rate. So now instead of you getting for another $400,000, $2,000 a month, maybe you get $2,300, $2,400, $2,500 a month, and it offsets the more rapid rate of inflation. Is that clear? Because it's important we understand this because these are building blocks. So if we understand that, then when inflation was at 1%, we had the ability to offer interest rates very low because the erosion was very low. But now inflation's moved up significantly from then. So what do lenders have to do? What do investors have to do in order to make those loans saleable so people have an appetite to buy it? They have to offer a higher interest rate to offset that more rapid rate of erosion. So if I were to say to you, if the customer were to say to you, when will mortgage rates come down? The answer is when what comes down? Yes, very good. Okay, so now let's start off, because I don't want to make any assumptions, is what is inflation to begin with? What's inflation? Here's the definition of inflation. Inflation is this: it's too many dollars chasing too few goods. Too much money sloshing around out there. Too many buyers, not enough inventory. Just like in housing, when you had a flood of buyers, a little bit of inventory, what happened to prices, everybody? It inflated higher, yes? With anything. If you're super thirsty, and everybody in this room was super thirsty, and there was only a couple of bottles of water that were for sale, last couple of bottles of water, everybody wanted it, what do you think happens to the price? Starts to bid higher. Remember toilet paper? Okay? So this is what starts to happen. That's inflation. So when the Fed comes in, they says, we want to fight inflation, what do? The Fed has a very blunt instrument. They increase interest rates. Okay, so what does that do? You increase interest rates. How does that fight inflation? Because while they don't affect mortgage rates, a hike in the Fed funds rate affects things like personal loans, credit cards, home equity lines of credit, which are based on a variable rate based on the Fed funds rate, and car loans, commercial and industrial loans. Now imagine this. Imagine a business. They say, well, I want to build a factory, $500 million. The Fed funds rate, who knows what the Fed funds rate is right now? Whoa. Okay, team, listen, I want to give you some tough love here. Okay? First of all, you say you're in the mortgage business. I know that. But is your product sucks, right? I mean, who wants a mortgage? Does anybody really? Mortgage is death promise. That's the definition of mortgage. Yeah, I sell death promises. You know that? Look up the definition of mortgage. Mortgage means I'm in debt. Mortgage means I've got a high monthly payment. Nobody wants that product. What do they want? What are you selling? You're selling money. Money so I could purchase a home, so I could finance a home, so I could create wealth. If I use that debt wisely, I could create wealth with it. That's what you do. You're wealth creators. Your product is money. Team, the price of money is the Fed funds rate. That's the most important price in the world. And you're in the business of money, you need to understand this. The Fed funds rate today is target range of 3 to 3.25% as of today. It will be going up on November 14th by 0.75%. So let's call it goes to 4%. On December 14th, November 2nd, it's going to go up, by 0.75%. December 14th, it's going to go up another probably 0.5 to 0.75%. So it's going to approach 5%. The Fed funds rate was at 0 at the beginning of this year, first quarter of this year. So think about this. If you're going to be building a new factory and you want to borrow $500 million to build that factory, when the Fed funds rate's 0, maybe you're paying 2 points over that, so you're paying 2% on $500 million. Things might change if it's now 2 points over a Fed funds rate of 5, right? So that will give you a 2% rate I'm paying on $500 million versus 7%. What might happen? You might not decide to do it, right? And that's exactly what the Fed wants to do. The Fed wants to do something called demand destruction. They want to take those dollars out of the system. Think about going to buy a car. Can you walk into a car dealership and walk out with a $50,000 car without spending a dollar? Can you? Yes or no? Yes, of course you can. You sign a piece of paper, you drive. So, did the seller of that vehicle get $50,000? Of course they did. So $50,000 got created out of thin air. What's inflation, everybody? What's the definition? Too many dollars, chase it. So when money is cheap, a lot of people want to buy it. That's a lot of dollars sloshing through the system. Now, what if, because the Fed's hiking rates, if back 6 months ago you went to go buy that car and the payment for a $50,000 car were $600, you might do it. But today, and maybe towards December, it might be $1,200. What might that family say? Family might say, hey, you know what, I'll keep the car I have for a little bit longer. And even if they wanted to, they may not qualify any longer, right, for that car loan. So what's the Fed doing? By making it more expensive, that's less money in the system. Look, we run on credit. For every $17 that you see that's money, 16 is credit. Imagine if you were limited that you can only buy what you have in cash or savings. Think about, would your life be different? Most people's life be different, wouldn't it? Yes or no? Yeah. So therefore, when we take a look and say, okay, we run on credit, what the Fed's trying to do is make it much more expensive so that there's less money in the system. And by doing that, it brings down inflation. So the Fed hikes, some money goes away. Now, what about savings? People haven't been saving of late because you go to the bank and it's like, what am I getting? 0.02, nothing. It is scientifically proven that human beings, if the rate of return that they get is less than 2%, that rate of return means that they're not incented to do it. They would rather not do it. They'd rather spend it than save it. They'd rather put it in something speculative than save it. That's why you have all these little assets, Dogecoin and all that shit that goes crazy, okay? Because money's so cheap. People aren't saving it, they're looking for crazy investments. When you take a look at interest rates now moving higher, people have an incentive. Look, there's something called a risk-free investment. What's a risk-free investment? The 6-year treasury, the 1-year treasury, the 6-month treasury, pardon me, the 1-year treasury, that is completely risk-free. Why? Because it's backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government, so you'll get your money back. But you might say, well, Barry, so is a 10-year treasury note or a 30-year treasury bond. Yes, but there's risk because it's so long dated that if interest rates go up or down, the value of what you have in between might go up and down quite a lot. You might not hold it the entire 10 years or 30 years. But because the 6-month has such a short duration, or the 1 year has such a short duration, it doesn't matter if interest rates change a little bit because you'll still get back your full principal within a very short period of time. Here's a risk-free investment right now. 6-month treasury, you're getting over 4%. Do you know as of the November 2nd rate hike, you'll probably get 4.5%, 4 3/4. As of the December 14th rate hike, you'll get more than 5%. It's a great investment. I'm waiting personally for December 14th when we get that rate hike, and I'm going to put some of my assets in treasuries, 6-month, 1-year treasuries, because it's completely risk-free and it's a rate over 5%. That starts to look pretty good. So if I'm not the only one looking at that, and you might be looking at that, by the Fed hiking rates, then what happens? Some people do what? They save instead of spend. Excuse me, this went a little far here. The money goes into the bank, so it takes money out. Plus, we are seeing a lot of more goods flowing in. Remember COVID lockdowns in China, supply chain disruptions. So goods are coming back. So you have fewer dollars, more goods. What's inflation going to start to do, folks? It's going to slow down. Now, let's take a look at the relationship between mortgage rates and inflation. The bottom line on the left is mortgage rates. It's kind of a bluish tint. The pink tint there, the bottom line is inflation, pardon me. The upper line on the left with a pink color are mortgage rates. Notice that when you take a look here, when inflation started to go up, mortgage rates started going up. When inflation started coming down, mortgage rates came down. Inflation was flat, mortgage rates were flat, until this period here called QE, quantitative easing. That's when the Fed started buying enough treasuries and mortgage bonds to keep mortgage rates around 3%. If you take a look, they did a pretty good job because mortgage rates stayed right around this 3% level for that entire QE period. Do you all see that? Now, they fixed the game. They rigged the system because what started happening, look what inflation started to do. You see inflation made this big skyrocketing move here and then here. Well, when that started to happen, what did the Fed tell us? Don't worry about inflation because it's transitory. So the Fed really screwed us here because what the Fed did was they left us with no good choices. That's like, imagine a patient, they start to show symptoms of getting sick. Maybe they've got the flu or something like that. If the doctor does nothing, says, oh no, don't worry, it's fine, it's transitory. And then that patient gets really, really, really sick. They might need surgery, they might need whatever, right? God forbid, bad things happen. Well, now our country's in that position. Now we need very, very invasive surgery because they didn't pay attention to the warning signs early because the Fed was asleep at the wheel and they screwed us. The reason why you're looking at 7% rates, the reason why you're slow in business right now, and the reason why your customer's in this position is because the Fed was asleep at the wheel. When we take a look at what happened is eventually they took the training wheels off, and look what happened to mortgage rates when they stopped QE. The second they did, what did mortgage bonds do? They did what they always do. They followed inflation. Inflation went up, mortgage rates went up. Inflation came down, mortgage rates came down. Inflation went up, mortgage rates went up. Does that make sense to everybody? Do you see the relationship between the two? I'm glad you do because this is the way you calculate it now. Don't look at this chart and tell me, oh my gosh, Barry, that looks a little crazy. Looks a little complicated. Look, I promise you, nobody came out of the womb and said, oh, I know what CPI is. Okay? These are all learned behaviors. This is not that complicated. Let me break down how inflation's measured. There's two reports. There's the CPI, Consumer Price Index, and the PCE, Personal Consumption Expenditures. They both kind of do the same thing. I like CPI better because what it does is it measures more out-of-pocket medical expenses and cost of shelter. The PCE comes out a couple of weeks later as well. So the CPI, I think, is better because we get it fresher, okay? So we can see what's really happening. By the time the PCE comes out, we already know what happened. So with the CPI report and the PCE, there's two components. There's a headline component, and then there's a core rate. What's the difference? Does anybody know the difference? Very good, somebody knew. Everybody should know this. The core rate takes away food and energy. Now somebody might scoff at that and says, oh, well, I need food and I need energy. Well, yeah, we know you do. But when the Fed looks at it, the Fed can't influence food and energy, can they? The Fed can hike rates, cut rates. It's not going to affect weather conditions for crops, okay? The Fed can hike rates, cut rates. It's not going to affect what OPEC does for energy. You follow what I'm saying? So the Fed's looking at what it can influence. So that's the core rate of inflation. And today in the United States, on a year-over-year basis, the core rate of inflation is at 6.6%, and that's just way too high. So we need that to come down. Well, how do you construct the core? How do they figure 6.6? Well, interestingly enough, while 6.6 is for the whole year, it's made up of 12 individual monthly pieces. It takes the most recent 12 months. So if you see to the extreme right, you see September, and it goes all the way back to last October of 2021. So these 12 numbers added together account for a little compounding and rounding, and you get 6.6%. Are you with me? Yes, good. Now, many of you know, in the spring, there were a lot of people who were saying, inflation's peaked, and we said, bullshit, no way that's peaked. And if you listened to us, and if you watched our updates, or you heard me speak, I pointed to these 3 months, and I said it's going to be a brutal summer. We even used Cruel, Cruel Summer, that song, on one of our updates that morning. So we said, listen, we're going to have heartburn, the summer's going to be brutal, it's going to be tough. And everybody said, okay, okay. It's one thing to be warned about it and know it's coming. It's another thing to live through it, okay? Right now we're living through it. And this is the problem, is that even though we said there's going to be heartburn, it's going to be tough, living through it is a whole other experience. You can be prepared for it, but now we're going through it. But the good news is this is exactly what we expected and exactly what we told you was going to happen. Now, the second part of that is that we said once we get to the October reading, that comes out on November 10th, we think inflation starts to come down. Why? Because these comparisons are much more elevated. Look at the comparisons here. We should start to see, because of the Fed hikes, because of the slowdown, because of the goods flow, we should start to see inflation come down on a month-by-month basis starting November 10th. And then when you remove, now remember, when November 10th comes, that's going to come with October 2022. October 22 replaces October 21. So because we believe these numbers will be lower in the future, the overall year-over-year now starts to come down. Because if we replace it with 0.3, replaces 0.6, then this goes from 6.6 to 6.3. Maybe the next month it goes to 6%. Maybe 5.8, 5.6. You get the picture here, okay? And when inflation starts to come down, what do mortgage rates do, everybody? There you go. Now, of the core rate of inflation, shelter makes up a big chunk. It makes up 39%, 39.3 if you want to be exact, but 39%. This is the core rate of inflation of shelter. Look at this month of January here. Remember we said we had to get through that, it was that low point we had to get past? The low point here is January. So while we see inflation coming down, after January's report, remember we get it in February, we think inflation really starts to come down. Look at rents and shelter. Do you see this loop here? Over the past year, it was going up, 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 till it hit in the peak in January. And then it started to come down, inflation, okay? It looks kind of like this, like a roller coaster. So on the right of the roller coaster, coming down, is shelter today, where we really are in real life. But what the Fed's looking at is to the left, which is that year-over-year number that's in the CPI report. Just like when you're in the roller coaster, you're still going up if you're in the back, but the people in the front, they're already headed down. Real life is heading down. But the Fed sees it as going up. That's why the Fed says, oh, we don't see any benefit to inflation, because they drive with their eyes in the rearview mirror. Very dangerous. In January, we reached the peak. Remember, we get this number in February. The roller coaster starts coming down. Now, there's something else called money supply. By March, the excess money supply starts to get more neutral. So I am telling you that in the first half of next year, I think if we get lucky the first quarter of next year, first of all, starts to get better towards the end of this year. Sometime first half, maybe first quarter, we see 5% mortgage rates. Right around 5, maybe less than 5. That changes the ball game. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm in this business for a very long time. I'm in this business 36 years. Holy shit. Okay? So I have seen a lot of markets. I'm just like you. I know what it's like to start at the beginning of the month at 0. I'm just like you. I know what it's like to have tough conditions. Refis go away. I've seen it all. Trust me when I tell you I've seen it all. The one thing I've seen that's really bad is I've seen people give up right before it turns. Not that long ago, 2018, things started to get rough. The housing market was rough. Rates went up. How many of your colleagues left the business? And they left right before the greatest market in history. I saw it happen in 87, in 88, in 89, and 90. I saw it happen when rates were, believe it or not, I'm going to go way back, in 1985 when they were 13, 14%, and then when they came down to 10, it was a refi boom. I know that sounds crazy, but yes, it was. But also, I saw in 2008 and 2009, and some of you might remember this, in 2008 and 2009, remember the implodometer and all the shit that was happening, and they left the business right before the greatest 10-year run that this industry's ever seen. They got out right before. Please, please, please do not make the same mistake. I'm showing you this and explaining to you that things are going to get better. We have a Fed chair that doesn't understand inflation, admittedly, okay? But I want you to be able to understand inflation. Now, recessions are important to understand. I'm very, very proud of the fact that we called the previous recession that happened in January 2020 before COVID, before anybody did, and actually people made fun of me when we called it correctly. You can look it up in MBS Highway. You can look at it's documented. July of 2021, we said in 2022 we're headed for recession. Rob Christman made fun of me, and he's my friend, okay? So people did not believe me. And there have been so many calls where people did the 0.5% on the 10-year that you saw Liz claim. Everybody thought I was off my rocker. We hit exactly 0.5%. I'm not doing this to give myself a pat on the back. I'm saying to you is that the methodologies that we use are reliable. So what I'm telling you is I want you to believe that rates are going to get better. I want you to believe that you're going to be in a better position. And for goodness sake, I don't want you to give up now. Okay? That is why, because it's going to get good. Recessions are important to know. We said in 2022 there's going to be a recession. I said it back in July of 2021. We are either in or going to be in a recession this year, and here is why. First of all, one thing is Fed rate, and I'll explain the payoff as to why it's important to know recessions. Fed rate hikes, as you can see on this chart, always lead to recessions. Take a look. The Fed starts hiking rates, you get to a shaded area, that's recession. Again. Look to the right. They're going to do it again. We're going to get into a recession. The Fed knows this. They won't admit it. They lie. But we're going for a recession, and that's exactly what the Fed wants because that slows things down and brings down inflation. They're going to keep hiking until things break, and that means recession. Loretta Mester, she is the Cleveland Fed president. Now, I want you to understand the mentality of the Fed. They drive with their eyes in the rearview mirror. Loretta Mester said earlier this month She said, we've not seen any progress on inflation. I think we need to bring interest rates up this year and into next year. Monetary policy needs to become more restrictive in order to put inflation on a sustainable tail. So the bond market hates inflation. She's saying we can't progress on inflation. So the bond market's throwing up when she says this. Another Fed president, Patrick Harker, he says, he said this yesterday. Couldn't put it on a slide. No progress on inflation. We'll have to keep it. And the bond market sucked with that news, right? Because the bond market hates. The bond market hates. So if the Fed's telling us inflation's getting worse and there's no progress, what does the bond market do? Sells off. Does that make sense? How accurate is the Fed? Well, okay, Loretta, the good thing about the internet is we could show it. Not 30 years ago, a year ago, I'm unconcerned with inflation running away. The next month, I'm not worried about inflation getting out of control. The next day, the Fed needs inflation to rise. Be careful what you wish for, Loretta. By the end of the year, she said this a year ago, by the end of the year, meaning 2021, I expect inflation to be between 3.5% and 4% and drop in 2022. So when the Fed says this stuff and the bond market reacts, be smarter. Be smarter. This is a yield curve. What's a yield curve? Shorter maturities pay a shorter rate, longer maturities pay a longer rate. Okay, this is a word you use every day. Interest. Yes? You use the word interest every day. Yes? What is interest? Interest is the price of time. Understand that. Interest is the price of time. You have money. I want it. Can I borrow it? By you giving it to me, you don't have access to it. I do. I can do all kinds of stuff with it. You can't. I can do whatever. Yeah. You're sitting there. You don't have the money. You're watching me have a good time with your money. You need compensation for that. Now, if I ask you, hey, buddy, can I borrow money? I have to go back to my room. I left my wallet in my room. Can you give me $10 so I can give the person a tip? I'll give it back to you when I get back to my room. You might say, Barry, I'm not going to charge you any interest, right? What if I say, hey, buddy, can I borrow $100,000? I'll give it back to you in about 9 years. You might ask for some interest, yes? The question is time, the price of time. The longer you need to borrow it, the what? And that's why the yield curve looks like this. Shorter maturity. You want to borrow for 2 years, the rate's here. You want to borrow for 10, 20, 30 years, the rate's here. Does that make sense? This is a normal yield curve. This is what it is today. It's inverted. Shorter maturities are paying more than longer. Why is that? It is a sign that the economy is sick. The Fed controls short-term rates, so it propped up short-term rates. It's propping them up too much, and it's going to kill and slow the economy. So the longer end of the curve is saying, wait, inflation's going to come down. So if I wait to get my money back, prices are going to come down, and I'll have more buying power in the future than I do today. Does that make sense? That is why the inverted yield curve, and this always, always, always signals recession. When the 10-year, the right circle, is cheaper than the 2-year, it's a lot different than this, where the 10-year is more expensive than the 2-year. Every time this inversion, the 10-year minus the 2-year, it's in red here. What happens shortly thereafter is a shaded line recession, inversion recession, again, and here's where we are. It's going to happen again. It always does. But people say, can't see it. This is a Fed governor, another one of the Fed people. Remember that outside of the Fed, they've never had a job, never a lemonade stand, a newspaper out. They don't know the real world. I can't see a recession with a 3.5% unemployment rate. Well, guess what? That's exactly when it happens. It doesn't happen when the unemployment rate's high. It's when it hits its lowest level and starts to move up. Let me prove it to you. Look at this chart. Shaded areas are recessions. Let's go back 100 years, and with 100% accuracy, every time unemployment gets to its lowest level, starts to go up, recession. Again. Looks like an EKG, doesn't it? Folks, why? Okay, things are good, you're busy. You're so busy you can't handle it. What do you have to do? Yell it out. You have to hire people. And when you hire people, you take them off the unemployment line. What happens to the unemployment rate, everybody? Bingo. Now, things slow down. You've just experienced this. Unfortunately, what's the sad thing you got to do? When you let them go, they go on the unemployment ride, and the unemployment rate starts to do what? It starts to tick up. The newly unemployed, do their spending habits change? Sure, because they're not going to spend as much. They're going to hunker down, which means the businesses that used to get their business, they do what? They slow down. And what do they have to do? That's why the unemployment shoots up and why you get a recession. Now you understand it. Does that make sense, folks? Thank you, guys. Now, team, this shows you, and it's amazing. I wish our Fed people would listen to this, okay? History. When the unemployment rate's 3.5%. The last times the unemployment rate 3.5% was in February 2020. We got in a recession the same month. In December 2000, it took 3 months. December of 69, it was the same month. March of 57, 5 months. June of 53, 2.5 months. Point of it is, either we're in or very close to recession. Why don't we know if we're in a recession? Because you got this stupid National Bureau of Economic Research. They're the referee. They have to examine it for about 9 months, and then they'll say, oh yeah, there was a recession back in June of 2022. But they'll tell you that in April of 2023. Thanks. Okay? So that's the way it works. Now, why do we have this? Because the Fed can't see further than their hand in front of their face. Oh yeah, it looks like a soft landing. That means no recession. That's what our Fed chair says. No recession, soft landing. Yeah, look a little further, okay? Now that you hopefully can see that a recession's coming, what does it mean for us? Well, every recession, mortgage rates go down. Last one, they went down by 1% and then a lot more. The next one, they went down by more than 1% and more, around 1% and more, 2% and more, 5%, 4%. Mortgage rates drop during recessions. You're about to be in a good market for interest rates. When I'm telling you 5%, I think longer term it may go lower than that. So you're going to be in a very good position. The housing market will change. We'll get to the housing market in a minute. Let me tell you about a pain point. Is it hard for you to get a 0-point quote? Is it? Okay. Believe it or not, that's good news. Let me just explain to you why it's good news. I know a lot of you use the term it's a par rate, but it's really not, okay? It's not. It's almost as bad as saying realtor. Look at the spelling, okay? The thing of it is that when you say a par rate to the customer, that's not the meaning of it. What does par mean besides the golf course? It means a loan will be sold for equal value, par value. A $500,000 loan will be sold for $500,000. Now, if it's sold for $500,000, there's no premium, there's no extra money. If the customer doesn't pay any points, how in the world are you going to get paid? How's your company going to get paid? So it can't be par. Somebody's paying it. If it's not the customer, it's in a premium. So an investor has to pay a premium, probably somewhere around 102%. That's 102. That's a premium. That's not par. Par is 100. 102% of the loan. So they're going to buy that loan for $500,000 for $510,000. Why in the world would they do that? Because on the loan, while it's $500,000, when it pays off, they're going to get paid back $500,000 in equity, either principal payments or the remaining balance or $500,000, whatever it is. They're going to get back $500,000. But the yield that they will get will be higher. So it might take them about 2 years to break even. After the 2 years, if that loan sits on the books for 6 or 7 or 8 years, they love that, right? That's great for them. Think about if they did loans at par plus pricing. They bought a loan and they got an extra 0.5 or 0.75% when the rate was at, instead of getting 3, they got 3.5. That loan's going to be on the books for a long time, right? So they're going to make a shit ton of money on that. They love it. But today what they're saying is, wait a minute. The smart money is saying rates are going to come down. So it's not going to last the 2 years I need it to last to break even. So they don't want to do that. Do you understand this? Does this make sense to you? So therefore what they're saying is, I don't want to do that loan. unless I make it really painful for you. You got to either really jack up the rate like a really ridiculous, crazy amount, or I'm not going to do it at all. And that's the position you're in today. And while it's painful and while it sucks, read the tea leaves. Read the underlying message. It is good news. It is telling you the smartest traders in the world, the bond traders, are saying rates are coming down, and they're going to come down by a lot. And every loan that's being done today is not going to last for more than a year. Every loan is going to be paid off and refinanced. That's money in your pocket. So you can't give, that's right, you can't give up now because you're about to get a windfall. All right, let's talk about housing, because I'm sick and tired of people, saying that the housing market's, they've been saying this for 10 years, okay? They don't understand it. They try and compare it to a stock. Look, I could sell a stock and walk away. If I sell my home that I live in, I need to live somewhere. So it's a little bit of a different mechanics. So what if we get a recession, and what if we're told we're in a recession? Everybody's going to say, don't buy a home because a recession is terrible on housing. That's not true. Here's the last 9 recessions. Housing has gone up 8 out of 9 recessions. One time it didn't. But it wasn't the recession that caused the housing bubble. The housing bubble created the recession. What caused the housing bubble? Like anything else, what causes price discovery? I told you this before. What causes prices to go up and down? Not just mortgage rates. Prices to go up and down. What and what? Supply and demand, right? So how do you measure demand in housing? How do you measure demand? How do you measure demand? It's called household formations. Please understand this. Household formations. Okay, what's a household formation? You've got a family. Family's living in one dwelling. It could be an apartment, it could be a home, wherever. Living in one dwelling. Someone's a kid, they grow up, they become 33 years old, which is the median age, and they said, I'm going to move out and get my own place. They move out, they get their own residence. It's the same family, but instead of one residence now, they have 2 for that family. Do we understand this? That's called a household formation. They just formed another household, right? That's demand. Supply comes from where? It comes from builders. It doesn't come from somebody selling their home because they buy a home. It comes from builders. When a builder builds a home and completes it, not just start it because that's a hole in the ground. They complete a home, that's your supply. Demand, household formations. Supply, completions. Let me show you a chart of what happened here, well, before I do, right here in 2006 when it all started. When you look in 2006, you see the blue line there? The blue lines are household formations. In 2006, do you see this enormous drop in household formations that happened in 2006? It happened to be the same year. Look at the yellow line. That's builders building homes. They built more homes than they ever built in history. They put up 2 million. Even today, they don't put anywhere near that. Most recent numbers, we got them yesterday. 1.4 million homes. Here, 2 million homes completed. But we were having less than 1 million households formed. That's an extra 1.1 million homes on the market. A lot of supply, not enough demand. What starts happening to prices? Repeat the next year. Repeat the next year. And then we got creative. Okay, how do we juice demand? How about no income, no asset, no job, 580 FICO, 100 LTV, non-owner occupied? What could go wrong with those loans? Nothing. And you had a full-blown housing bubble, and we got blamed for it. They created the products, they tried to juice it, and we got blamed for it. And then things leveled off, and if you want to know why the housing market is so hot, just look at this. Too much demand, not enough supply causes prices to do what? Yes. Okay, so what happened here in 2006? Interestingly, there is an explanation for it. And the explanation is this. Remember, the median age is 33, so 33 years before 2006 is 1973, or right here. Do you see how it fell off a cliff, the birth rates? Why? Because abortions were legalized in January of 1973. Now, before anybody gets crazy, I'm not getting political. I'm not saying I'm pro, I'm not saying against, I'm neutral here, I'm not saying anything. I am just giving you reason for why birth rates dropped. They stayed low for a while, and then they started going up. By the way, we're here right now. So you could see birth rates from 33 years ago went up, so you're going to get even more demand that's coming into this market. Just wait to see what happens when rates go back down to 5%, folks. And as you look here, it's a hand in glove. The blue line mirrors that. It looks exactly like what we just looked at. All right, so how many households are we forming today? Today we're forming between 1.6 and 1.7 million households. You can see it there. It's 1.77 million right now. But it changes, but we'll call it that. So that's our demand. So how many homes are builders putting up? Well, builders are only putting up 1.4 million, but each year about 100,000 homes have to be destroyed because of aging. So we're netting about 1.3 million homes. Do the math. Supply is still too short. How could you have a bubble when you have more demand than supply? So let's go deeper. Because people come out of the woodwork. You know who this guy is? Who's this guy? Grant Cardone, great salesman. Not so good when it comes to the housing market. So Grant Cardone is a very good opportunist and he sells a lot of tickets. So Grant Cardone said a couple of months ago, he said this. He said, don't buy a home unless you can afford to waste money. Why, Mr. Cardone? And you could pull up the article and he says this. This is an exact copy from the article. So you think it's a good idea because you buy a $100,000 home, put $5,000 down, then 10 years later you sell it for double, $200,000. It seems like a big profit. You turn $5,000 into $100,000. And then he says, but let's take your cost, your interest, your property taxes, your real estate fees, your total cost is $86,000. You only made $14,000. And he says that means 1.4% a year. By the way, his math is terrible. I wouldn't want to hire him for my accountant, but let's just go with his numbers, okay? But the big question for Grant is, hey, Grant, where are you going to live? Where are you going to live, Grant? I see you doing all these videos in front of jets and Rolls Royces and big houses. I'm sure you're not sleeping on a park bench. Let's say that you just go with rent for $1,500 a month over the 10 years with a slight rental increase, that's $237,000. So Grant, you're saying really it's a 5,000% rate of return or 500% a year. But Grant's not doing this for the first time. You see, the great thing about the internet is you can call people out. When Grant Cardone in 2016 said buying a house is for suckers, he got a lot of play on that. He said, don't buy a home, it's for suckers. He said, and I quote, should you own a home? Unless you have $20 million in the bank in cash, you have no business buying a home. He wants to hold you down. He wants to hold your customers down. He's buying homes, but he didn't want you to. Now, what if somebody listened to him? What about a poor person who listened to him, and instead of buying a $300,000 home with 10% down, investing $30,000, they did not do that and they rented? Well, here we are in 2022, and according to the Case-Shiller Home Price Index, the most accurate one, home values are up 72%, which means that home is worth $516,000, which means it's a $216,000 profit that Grant Cardone cost you or your customer, or a 720% rate of return on your $30,000 investment. Folks, we have to stop the poison. It's all over because people don't understand this. And look, I know a lot of you guys like Gary Vee, and I think Gary Vee is really smart, but you could pull it up. Don't take my word for it, okay? I think he does a lot of things that are very good, but I think that sometimes he doesn't understand things also, like housing. And when Gary Vee said in 2019, pull up the rant, just because he curses like 7,000 times doesn't make his point correct. So when Gary Vee says, I don't think it should be the American dream, it's full of shit, it's a bad use of capital, it ties you up, it's not smart, and then he says something I could never understand. He says, I'm pissed that I own a home. Did you ever see the movie Liar, Liar? When he's in the bathroom and he's just beating himself up and I'm kicking my own ass. Why are you beating yourself up, Gary? Just don't buy the home. But he does, and he buys more. But what's not only terrible about this, he says, instead of buying a home, you should buy a Lambo, don't buy a home. And what he also says is that don't even let your kids buy a home, generationally holding you down. What if you listened to Gary Vaynerchuk in 2019? Well, on a $400,000 home with 10% down, you missed out on appreciation of 48%, according to Case-Shiller. That's a $592,000 value or $192,000 profit or a 480% return on your money. Wow. Real money, folks. Real wealth. But the queen, nobody's like Diana Olick, right? She's the queen. And now she's on, what, 4 times a day, 5 times a day, trying to beat up housing. This is what this woman's been doing for 10 years, and she's been wrong for 10 years. Out of the literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of negative reports on housing for the past 10 years telling people don't buy a home, I've just got a few. Let's go quickly. In 2015, she says, we're in a housing bubble bigger than 2006. Holy shit, that sounds bad, right? Well, if you didn't buy that $300,000 home, you missed out on $15,000 profit that year. So does she come on the next year and say, oh shit, I'm sorry about that? No, she just says, we're in a new housing bubble, don't buy a home. And you missed out on another $17,000 or 5.4%. So the next year she says, home ownership does not build wealth. Don't buy a home. Can somebody show me one person since 2017 who didn't build wealth in real estate in the last 5 years? I just want one. I don't want it to be half the people, 20%. I just want one. And in that 1 year, you missed out on another $20,000. Then she says the following year, she says, hey, it's better to rent than buy a home. Can anybody show me the one person over the last 4 years was better off renting? Just one person? Okay, and in that 1 year, you missed another $14,000. So then she says, big announcement. They prepped this for 2 days before she came on. Don't miss Diana Olick's breaking story on housing. They said this, before you think about buying for a home, don't miss Diana Olick. And she said the housing market's about to shift in a bad way in the middle of 2019. But she was wrong. Prices went up another $15,000. So at the end of the year, what does she say? My big forecast for 2020 is that next year is going to be hard on the housing market. Well, I guess it's hard if you didn't buy a home, Diana, because prices went up another $61,000. And then a year ago, what did she say? She says the housing boom is over. Well, since she came out with that, no, year over year, they're up 15%, but since she came out with it because it was July of 21, we're up 18%. So you missed out on $250,000 if you listen to Diana Olick. Don't let people listen to the media. Go by facts. So what are the facts? The facts are we have very low inventory. Don't compare it to a housing bubble. Housing bubble, there was 3.8 million units for sale. Today, there's 1.25 million units for sale. 1.25. Less than a third of the available inventory. Less than a third. Now, this is a chart here that my friend, he's my friend, Patrick Bet-David. You know, many of you know him. Did you guys see me debate Patrick Bet-David last year? So you can pull it up. I debated him twice. He says, housing bubble is terrible. So I said, no, we're going to have a good house. Since then, we're up 18%. He was wrong. Because people don't understand this. Now he's got this big thing out about another housing crash coming. I guess they just rinse and repeat. Now, I like Patrick, and he's brilliant, and he's smart. But housing is different. He showed this chart of home inventory. And he said, look at the alarming build in home inventory. Starting in April, I don't know if you could see it, but starting in April, we went up like skyrocketing in inventory. That's terrible. That means a crash is coming. Now, when Patrick showed this, he showed 1 year. I will show you the exact same chart, except let me show you over a 10-year period. Do you notice a pattern? Over and over and over and again. Why does this happen every year? Why? I'll tell you why. It's because, remember when you were a kid and there was a new kid coming to your class? If they came in the middle of the school year, it was hard on them. Kids pick on them, right? Do you remember that? Okay, so parents don't want that. When do they want their kid to start school? At the beginning of the school year, which means they have to have moved into their home June, July, or August. So when did they have to put their home up for sale? April, May, June, July. April, May, June, July. April, May, June, July. Again. It makes sense. When people try and scare you, they just take a snippet and they try and scare you. Go deeper. Don't believe it until you prove it out. That's what we try and do every single day. But even that 1.25 million, it's not the real story, guys. It says 1.25 million, but wait a minute. You know what's included in this? Is the most ridiculous thing. What's included in the inventory is, get this, 518,000 of those homes are already under contract. Yeah, your realtor's going to take you out and say, hey, listen, let's go see this home. They're closing next week, but let's knock on the door, see if we can see it. What the fuck? I mean, that's not going to happen. So now we take a look at this and we see there is truly only 732,000 homes for sale in this country. 340 million people, 732,000 homes for sale. Let's look at inventory. Here's the chart for it. You could see in this chart, we were at the lowest level ever in listings. These are actual listings in the United States. There's 732,000 of them. Normally, 25% of all the inventory is under contract. Today, it's 41%. Homes are selling in like less than 3 weeks, 19 days, according to the National Association of Realtors. So they're still moving. Uh-oh, CBS News Watch, big headline last month. Dramatic increase in foreclosures, up 150%. Oh man, that sounds bad. 150%, well, it's true. 150% from last year when you couldn't do foreclosures because of moratoriums. Can you show us a normal year? We're down 60%. Did they say that? No. Did they say it's down 90% from when the market was in trouble? No, because that doesn't sell. Good news doesn't sell. You know what sells? Well, sex sells, right? And fear sells. So, folks, this is nothing more than fear porn that you're seeing here, okay? This is what the media is putting out. All right, here's the big one. It's not affordable. And I will tell you, yes, it's not affordable as it was, but you have to be smarter. Now, this is where I really want you to put your thinking caps on. I'm going to test you on this, okay, team? So here we go. Last year, a $400,000 home at rates that were available then. The payment's $1,800, maybe it's even $1,900 a month, okay? The average income, not the qualifying income, but Fannie Mae shows the average income for that payment would be around $9,000 a month for the household. Now, a year later, year over year, from last year to this year, values are up 15%. That's the most recent data. So that means if your home is 15% more, you got to borrow 15% more. 15% of $400,000 is $60,000. So now instead of a $400,000 mortgage for a similar home, $460,000 is what I need. Does that make sense to everybody? Let's take today's rates around 7. Your payment's $1,200 a month more. Say it's $1,300 a month more. And this is where they stop. They say, people can't afford it. Diane Olick says this 3 times a day on the air. They can't afford it, you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Well, what about their income? Fortunately, we have good data on this. The data comes from ADP. ADP measures, get this, 25 million payroll records. Pretty good sample size, okay? 25 million records, and here's what they tell us. If you stayed at your job, your income went up 7.8%. If you switched jobs, it went up 15.7%. So the average they gave us is 9%. So that means if your income went up 9%, you're making $800 more. Yes, it cost you $1,200 more. So it's close, but it's still not counting. But I want to be fair because I'm not going to try and sell anybody. I want to show you the truth. You got to consider your gasoline, your food, your services. You're paying $1,500 a month more today versus $800 a month more in income. And this is why the market right now is so tough. That's it right there. We are looking at a difficult period of time because costs have gone up and incomes haven't gone up as much. But please, here's where I want you to put your thinking cap on. This is where I want you to show your intelligence. Don't do what the media does. Don't even do what our Fed does where they can't look behind here. Please tell me what happens to your payments next year. What happens to your payment next year? I got a fixed rate of 7%. Is it going to change? No, unless But let's imagine you don't refinance to a lower rate. Let's say you don't. Let's say I'm wrong, rates don't come down. What else will change? Bingo! Income. So that income, if it goes up, let's say I stay at my job, 7.8%, my income goes up by $1,535 to cover $1,500 in less affordability. By 2023, I completely mitigated that. Team, listen, and I mean this. This is the greatest frickin' opportunity that there is in housing. Sir John Templeton, one of the greatest investors of all time, I love his style of investing. He said, you want to be a buyer on the most pessimistic day. Is it pessimistic out there right now? Yeah. Warren Buffett, be greedy when others are fearful. Is there a lot of fear out there today? Yeah. Here's what you have to teach your customer. If you show them this, rates are going to come down. They're going to refinance this to a lower rate anyway. But if they buy a home today, it's different than last year. Last year, I had to give you $50,000 more for your home. I couldn't get a home inspection. Maybe I couldn't even get an appraisal. Am I right? Okay. Today, I can negotiate. It's normal. So you know what I'm going to do? Here's what I'm going to negotiate with you. I want a little lower price, and I want you to pay for my 2-1 buy down. So what do I get today? I'm going to get my 5% today. And next year, I'm going to refinance that 2-1 buy down and get a refund on the unused portion and pay for my closing costs and get 5% next year. This is what you could do. But what happened to the value of the home? The value of the home is going to go up. When all these buyers start coming into the market with a 1.9 per month supply of inventory, what the hell happens to prices? They go up. The reason why poor people don't make money is because they don't see opportunity. They don't look into the future, they look at the past. Wayne Gretzky, he may be the greatest athlete of all time if you look at his records compared to all of his contemporaries and how far above he is everyone. His famous line is he's not going to skate to where the puck is, he skates to where it's going to be. You want to teach your customers to go what the media is saying, or you want to teach your customers to go where the market's going to be. Your realtor needs to hear this message, because this could be the greatest buying opportunity in real estate that we have seen in years. This is the time for you to create wealth for your customers. You have a big responsibility. How do you create wealth in real estate? Okay, here we go. Let's just say we get 4% appreciation. By the way, historical appreciation for the last 63 years is about 4.5%. Going forward, what we see over the next 9 years, I'm picking 9 years because that's about how long people stay in a home. So if you buy a home today, it's not like you're going to move out in a month. You're not going to check your appraised value every day like a stock quote. You're going to take a look and say, okay, 9 years from now, what do I think it's going to be worth? But year by year, we think that's going to be 5.11% appreciation. That's our forecast, and I think we're going to be close to it. Now, a 4% rate of appreciation, much lower than historical, is that a bad rate? Well, let's take a look. A $400,000 purchase price with a 10% down payment means my investment is $40,000. 4% appreciation is a $16,000 profit on a $40,000 investment, gives me a 40% return. You see, without a mortgage, it's a 4% return. Your mortgage gives them the leverage. You are wealth creators. They cannot do it without you. Your job is to create wealth for your customers. Here's what I want to show you, team, and I think this is very important. We all want to gain wealth, right? You want to be in the top 1% of the United States in net worth? We all know what net worth is, right? What's net worth, everybody? What's net worth? All of your assets minus what you got minus what you owe. That's your net worth. If you want to be in the top percent, here's your goal. You ready? According to Kipling, here's the amount of money you need. You need $10.8 million to be in the top 1%. Pretty exclusive club. Top 1%, a lot of money, top 1%. Okay, how about the top 2%? Still pretty exclusive club. You need $2.5 million. Bet you a lot of people in this room are already in these tiers. Net worth. How about the top 5%? Still very rarefied air. What do you need? You need $1 million in net worth. Top 10%? Still exclusive club. You need $800,000. And the top 50%, you need $500,000. Why do I tell you this? Because the study showed that this is the punchline. 2/3, on average, 2/3 of all net worth came from home equity. You want to be in the upper class? You better own real estate. You want to be in the lower part, the part where people want to keep you down, all those people on TV that want to keep you down, you don't buy real estate. That's the fastest way to the poorhouse and staying poor. You want to climb the ladder of success and net worth and generational wealth for your family? You better buy some real estate, and you folks make it possible. You're the ones that make people's dreams come true. It is the American dream, and that's the reason why. It's your responsibility to show people and cut through this bullshit, cut through this fear, and get them the home so they can, over time, create this kind of wealth. Our forecast is that you're going to see low single-digit appreciation. Some markets, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, Phoenix, Austin, let me see, where else here? But those markets, they're probably going to come in around 5%, but they've had extraordinary growth. The rest of the country might be down 1% to up 3-4% over the next year. But then the following year, it will be much better because as rates come down, low inventory environment, you have got like all this fire that's at a low fire, but when the new buyers come in, when rates drop, it's like pouring gasoline on the fire and the housing market heats up. It's that simple, folks. The stage is set. It's a perfect storm. And normally when you get these, you got to pony up for it because everybody sees it coming and they want to, just like a year or two ago, you had to pay $50,000 more than asking price. Everybody saw it. My job is to show you the future before it becomes obvious. That's what my job is. And now it's your job. Now you show your customer what the future looks like before it becomes obvious because that's where the opportunities are. When everybody sees it, it's too late. Now is the time. Rents are still going to go up 13% a year on new rents like they are and 8% on renewals. Now I want to give you an idea to get through this market. By the way, those of you that watched Neil Dinger yesterday in that session, he had some great ideas. You should definitely take his course. You should definitely follow people like Josh Pitts, and you should definitely get exposure because you want a bigger reach. There's a show called American Dream TV. It's on all networks, CNBC, Fox, Bloomberg. So it's Emmy winning. It's an amazing show. So I'm so proud. While I don't have like a partnership with them or anything like that, but they asked me to do they hired me to do the opening session that goes nationwide. So I talk about some of these things I just shared with you and what's going on in the marketplace in the first 5 or 6 minutes. Then it goes to local markets. The local markets that they go to are people like you that own that territory. And I bring this up because I talk to the people in the local markets and they're freaking slaying it. Because they're on TV, they're local, but here's what they use it for. They go to a realtor they want to do business with, and they say, hey, you want to put your listing on national TV? Realtor says, shit, man, that'll help me get the listing if we could put it on national TV to market it. That realtor then becomes their customer. And now they're a name brand. You want to have brand? You listen to Josh. You listen to Neil. You get yourself on TV. You can't take a picture of it. You have to scan this code if you want to do it. All territories are not available. You'd have to apply for it. And I also want you to know up front, while I don't know exactly what they charge, I know it's not cheap. It's like $1,000 or $1,500 a month. But is it worth it? Holy shit, it's worth it. So if you might be interested, it's not for everybody. Scan it, apply, and then follow up with it. I'll leave it up for 2 more seconds, so you got to scan it quick. Okay. Buying versus renting. You get a lot of people right now that are scared of renting. A lot of people. So, scared of buying, rather. So they're thinking about renting. I wonder if somebody's got a bottle of water that they can bring up here or something like that in the back. One of your teammates have a bottle of water back there? Jared, if you got a bottle of water, you can just drop one here. That'd be great. Buying versus renting. A lot of people are scared of buying. They're thinking about renting. They're worried about it, right? So is it better to buy or is it better to rent, even with rates as high as they are? So here we go. Let's use an example. $400,000 purchase price, 10% down to $360 mortgage. The rate, let's make it 7.5%, and let's also assume, thank you, Jared, let's also assume that they never refinance. Thank you, buddy. So they never refinance, so they're going to be stuck with 7.5% rate. Unlikely, but let's just say, because I don't want to give any advantages here. I want to make this look ugly for buying and pretty for renting. Now, on that $400,000 home, like most people are going to be in that home for 9 years. For the last 63 years, before I get to there, let's put all the negatives. You don't have to worry about property taxes, but let's also assume property taxes go up 2% a year. Let's assume that on a $400,000 home, you should budget about $160, $170 a month for repair costs. Let's assume that the cost to sell is about 6%. And let's also assume that the historical average, we know what it is, it's 4.5%, 4.49% to be exact. If I'm going to rent this, you know you can rent it for more than $3,000 a month for a $400,000 home. I mean, you guys know that. But we're going to say that you're going to get a break on the home, you're going to get $250 off the rent, and instead of it going up at 8% a year, it only goes up at 6%. So is it better to buy or better to rent? You tell me. If I buy the home, I'm paying $3,500 a month. If I rent, I'm paying $2,700 a month. You're going to say, hey, it's a lot cheaper to rent. I should be renting, right? And that's what a lot of people do. And they make that mistake. Is it really cheaper? Well, take a look at the purple line. You'll see the rent going up at that 6%. And by the 5th year, it's even, and then it starts to get more. Over the whole 9 years, it seems like cash flow is break even. Or is it? Is it? Is it? When you make your mortgage payment, it's principal and interest. When you make your mortgage payment, it's principal and interest. I know you know this, but tell me, please, who does the interest go to? Can everybody say who the interest goes to? You're right, but where? The lender, right? The bank, the lender, whatever. Yes? Okay. Where's the principal go? Guys, everybody should know this, okay? And everybody should be talking about this with their customer. Whose money is the principal? The homeowners, right? The borrowers. This is a critical amount to talk about because it's really important. You see, when you make that mortgage payment, the interest portion goes to the lender, but the principal goes to you. Look, let's just say I have cash in my left-hand pocket. I take the cash out, I move it, and I put it in my right-hand pocket. Is it still my money? Of course, but it is in a different location, right? When I write the check, it's in my checking account. When the lender cashes my check, it's in equity in my home. Is it still my money? It's just in a different location. And the reason why you want to bring this up is because it's an enormous sum of money. It's $41,000 in this case. This is why it's so important to show these things to your customer, because they don't think about that. They say, oh, the rent's cheaper. The rent is not cheaper. Buying it's $41,000 cheaper in cash because all you did was take some of this money and put it somewhere else. It's still yours. It's $41,000 cheaper. But then what about appreciation, folks? How about that 4.49%? Can someone tell me 4.49% compounded annually for 9 years, how much that amounts to? Can you do that? No. That's why Albert Einstein said it's the eighth wonder of the world. And guess who else can't do it? Your realtor and your customer, which is why you have to show it to them. And when you show it to them, it's $194,000. They're beating you up over $40 a month. Ah, they're $40 a month cheaper. It's $194,000 and $41,000. Then you get a tax break. And then the cost. How much better is it to buy than rent? It's $205,000 better, and that's at 7.5%. You never refinanced it. With all the negatives in there. And a discount on the rent. Folks, if you look to the left there, a little bit closer, you know, it's 90-some-odd thousand better after a shorter period of time as well, right? What's that, for 6 years, $94,000 better? For 4 years, $38,000. Heck, for 3 years, it's $15,000 better. Would you throw away $15,000? Yeah, $15,000, I don't need it. No, you'd want that. In this crazy example, what I would say to the customer is, hey, are you going to move within 2 years? If the answer is yes, rent. Are you going to be there longer than 2 years? Yes. Well, you tell me. Would you want to throw away any of this money? Clearly, you should buy. Well, I don't like the way 7.5 sounds. Well, do you like how 205,000 sounds? People get all screwed up in their brain. 7.5, I'm going to rent. No, analyze it. Your competition's not doing it. Your realtor doesn't know how to do it. You do it. I mean, how long does it take you to pull this up an MBS highway? It takes you all of 3 seconds. That's it. Put in the MLS number, done. Or put in the zip code and you can come up with the same thing and the purchase price, done. And then co-brand it with your realtor and make your realtor look like a freaking hero, rock star. Investment properties. Did you know that 1 out of every 6 transactions is an investment property and nobody's focused on it? You know any of your competition? Any of you saying, hey, I'm really making a concerted effort on investment properties? No. But you just found out that if you want to be creating wealth, you have to be in real estate. Fastest way to create wealth is to buy investment properties. You do it for your home, that's great, but then you got to do more of them. This is the best investment you can make. Let me show you how. Use our investment property tool. There was no other thing out there, so I said, hey, there's nothing like it, let's just create it. So we did, because we have all the data. $500,000 home, $400,000 mortgage, 7% rate with 1 point. They're going to own the home for 9 years. They're going to own this home for 9 years before they sell it. Here we go. Closing costs to buy, repair costs they got to fit in, property taxes going up, cost to sell, rent. Oh, the forecast for the next 9 years is 5.11% per year. Rent, $3,500 a month, 6% they go up. The market's going up in April, let's just say 6. Current vacancy rates are 4%, 4.1%. We're using 4% vacancy. In the first year, you're going to lose $500 a month. The first year. By the 9th year, you're making $36,000. Your return on cash is 31%. But how about the big money? Appreciation, $283,000. Amortization, $49,000. Here's your bottom line summary. Here's the bottom line. You're going to take in $463,000 in rents, that's with the vacancy, $283,000 in appreciation. Your revenue is $746,000 from this trade. Your expenses for interest, property taxes, insurance, repairs, closing costs to buy and sell is $439,000. Your net profit, $306,000. Your investment, $100,000. Your rate of return, 306%. But now, what is it per year? Compounded annual rate of return, 16.9%. 16.9%. If you're a money manager and you make more than 15% per year, You're in the Hall of Fame of Hall of Fames. You're Warren Buffett. Why do so many people make money in real estate? This is why. You have the ability to help people do this. This tool that's an MBS Highway, people are losing their minds and going crazy over it. If you're not in there using these tools today, why? I'm just asking you, why? You have access, why? I know so many of your members just use it. The alerts, yes, they help, but don't just use it for the alerts. Make sure you watch every morning update. Guys, if you're not watching the morning update, what is your excuse? I want to just, again, I'm going to give you some tough, and it's only because I really want you to succeed, okay? But you know what? You don't deserve it if you're not doing that. If you're not willing to invest 7 minutes in the morning or 6 minutes, you don't deserve people's business. You won't deserve my business. A doctor that doesn't make sure that they are up on everything, do you want your child or your loved one to go to that doctor if they're just going through the motions? An attorney in an important case, you want somebody who's not paying attention? Who's not getting better every day? Are you getting better every day? Because you have a job to do. And that's to create wealth for people. They're putting the biggest financial transaction of their life in your hands. Are you getting better every single day? That's the question I have for you. And what are you doing? Are you saying it because that's bullshit? Do it. Watch the daily update. Understand it. Iron sharpens iron. Talk about it with people in your office. Practice in front of a mirror. Understand it. Get better. Don't wish the market were better. I hear people say, don't wish the market were better, wish you were better. That's bullshit. Be better. Don't wish to be better. Do it. Take action. That is your theme. You take action. Folks, do it. You have to get into these tools and do it. And by the way, if you're going to let the $79 a month stop you, I mean, really, please. I mean, come on, it's a ham sandwich for God's sakes in today's market. It's tax deductible. I'm not going to spend $79. Okay, well, you're the person I want to handle my $1 million transaction. Who won't spend $79 to have the, yeah, you're who I want to do business with. Think about the ridiculousness of that. There's an AVM. Don't use Zillow. Use our AVM. Use the AVM that we have because this will help you. It's called the MB estimate. It takes you a second to pull it up. When you pull up the MB estimate, here's what you get. You get a full appraisal that now you say to all your real estate agents, hey, let me give you this appraisal. When you go to your listing, it'll make a more professional presentation. I'll save you all the time because I'll give you all the comps. Save you an hour's worth of work. Realtors will love you. How long does it take to do? 3 seconds. 3 seconds. All the tools you saw, seconds. 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 10 seconds. Done. There's no excuse. Trends in the marketplace, average per square foot, how many sales? And then how about the real estate report card? Shit, if you're not pulling up the real estate report card, which takes you 3 seconds to do, and if you're not pulling this up and going over this with every single client on the phone, what are you trying to do? Just talk about rate and qualifying? For goodness sake, you know what? I am sorry to tell you. You see this thing here? It can do it better than any of us can and faster. I am not going to compete with you. But I'm going to create wealth for you and show you what's going on and co-brand it with my realtor and get a better reach to everyone. I'm going to make more money. You go ahead and play with the qualifying somebody. God bless you, it's true. Exponential versus linear growth. Exponential is 2, 4, 6, 8. Linear is 1, 2, 3, 4. If you took a penny and doubled it every day for a week, you would have 64 cents at the end of the week. If you started a week earlier, you'd have $82. This monitor, if you could put this on, I'd appreciate it, guys. If you did it a week before that, what would you have there? Somebody read that for me. $10,000. A week before that, 1.3 million. What if you started just 2 days earlier? You'd have 5.3 million. What if you started 1 day before that? 1 day. You'd have 10.7 million. What's the lesson here? The lesson is that procrastination is a thief. If you wait and you procrastinate, it will steal from you and your family. If there's an idea, if there's something you want to do, what in the world are you waiting for? Oh yeah, I'll get around to it. Well, you see how fast somebody else will do it. Somebody else will take it. Protect your family, protect you. Take action. This is what it's all about. Do not procrastinate. It's a killer. Folks, if you're not taking advantage of being a CMA, a lot of people say, Barry, I want to speak like you. I want to be able to understand the market. It's like, okay, well, I just did it for you. I put it all in a course for you. It's $2,000. You've got a man, you got two men here, okay, Mike and Matt, that are picking up a good chunk of the cost for you, so it only costs you $1,000. They want you to have some skin in the game. Why wouldn't you take a course, go through it, and change your life, and now speak like an expert in the money business? Why wouldn't you do that? I'm just, think about how beautiful this is, because your competition doesn't have the knowledge you do, you're going to win. It's that simple. If you're saying, oh, wow, all that stuff that you just went over, well, all that knowledge is in there so you can go over and gain the expertise. Just do it. Just do it. Don't think about it. Just do it. And it's $79 a month for MBS Highway, guys. It's $200 a month. We have 35,000 subscribers, probably about a third of them paying $200 a month. You get a discount down to $79 a month because Mike and Matt subsidize the cost for you. They subsidize it for you so that you get $79 a month. Why wouldn't you do that and take advantage of the money they're putting in your pockets, and then you not only get the alert, but get all that stuff? Just invest in yourself. This is not money. Look, if you spend money and it makes you more money than you spend, how much did it cost you? It makes you money. Listen to what Mike and Matt did in this market, okay? So I spoke to Mike about this. There's a great product out that you probably know. It's called List Reports. What does List Reports do? It will find realtors that do business like you do. You set the parameters. It'll tell you who they are. It will tell you, are they sending all their business to which loan officer they're sending it to? They'll tell you, do they spread it out so maybe I could definitely break in easier? Guys, there's 1.4 million realtors. 800,000 of them do one sale or less, one deal or less a year. They're not doing any business. You could say, oh, I'm going to court this realtor. I'll take her out to breakfast. Isn't that great? I'll take her. Oh, great. What did you win? Nothing. Go after the ones producing. 90% of the realtors do 10% of, 10% of the realtors do 90% of the business. It will tell you who they are in your market, what type of deals they do, and who they're working with. And then the realtor you're getting business from, it'll tell you if they're cheating on you. Who they're working with, on which loan, and why. Now you could tell them, hey, you know, listen, did I do something wrong? I know you work with somebody. What did they do? Maybe I could show you what I could do to help you. Win them back. You spent so much effort to get them, win them back. And what it'll also do is it'll do social media alerts. It'll tell you when they put a listing up, you'll be able to respond. It'll give an open house flyer and stuff that you can send to them automatically. So here's what Maggie Matt did. They said, look, it's a little bit of a difficult time right now. Right now, it's a little bit of a difficult time. We're going to buy it for everybody for the next 2 months. And anybody who's on MBS Highway already, we're giving it to you. But they want to know that you have a little skin in the game, so you have to at least have MBS Highway. And if you do, Mike and Matt buy this for you for 2 months, and we'll put you on it automatically. So how about a big hand for those guys? They want you to succeed. Don't tell me that your best opportunities are over. Don't tell me that. Don't give me that bullshit. Don't tell me your best opportunities are, oh, we missed it, the refinance, boom, it's over, never be like that again. Do not say that. This guy, Charles Duell, he was the head of the patent office. When? In 1899, 123 years ago. Head of the U.S. Patent Office. You know what he said? We don't need the U.S. Patent Office anymore. Let's save the money and close it. Why, Mr. Duell? And I quote, because everything that can be invented has already been invented. Don't you dare have that same mentality. Because your best opportunities are ahead of you. You don't even know the great things that you're about to do. But it starts with one, believing in yourself, investing in yourself, positioning yourself, and taking action to do it, folks. You want to repeat excellence. You don't want what's happened to be a one-shot deal. You want to repeat excellence. Think about all the great content here. You're going to have somebody who's amazing. Matt Ishbia is going to be coming up right after me. You're going to be learning so much from him. You're going to have Les Brown later on today. Take all this in and understand that what you want to do is you want to motivate yourself to take action. So what motivates you anyway? Let me ask you something. Is it money that motivates you? Why not? Don't ever be embarrassed to want to make a lot of money. Our society right now, in a very screwed up way, makes it like, oh, you're about money. Well, Making money is a good thing. Take it from somebody like me. I grew up unbelievably poor. My parents were immigrants that left everything behind so they could come to America and have a start for their family's future. They gave up everything they had. The government took everything they had. My ancestry is from Spain. They lived in Turkey for several generations. And then when they came here, the Turkish government took like virtually everything they had. So they came here with 6 suitcases. My dad was 57, my mom was 40, and then they found out they were pregnant with me. So I'm first generation born here. Now they were really, really poor. My dad had to humble himself and work at as a counterman, selling hot dogs and stuff like that. My mom had to work in a sweatshop making dresses. I know what it's like to be really, really poor. My brother, whatever he would do for work, he had to give it to the house to contribute so we could try to make ends meet. That was very lucky of the timing, I guess, because I just made it before birth control pills came out and before abortions were legal. So I kind of snuck in there, you know? But it made it very hard on my parents. Didn't speak the language. My dad spoke 10 languages. English wasn't one of them. My mom spoke 7. English wasn't one of them. So it was very hard on them. And my dad passed away when I was a young boy. And my mom brought me up, and she taught me a lot of really good values. And she would talk about the fact that America was believed to be this very wealthy country, and it was a great opportunity that she wanted us to have. But she also said, you know, foreigners, when they come here, they hear about America and they hear there's money in the streets. They hear that America is such a rich country that all you have to do is look around and pick it up and there's money in the streets. And it was kind of funny but sad too. And as I kind of grew up and learned a little bit about how things really work, I understood that there is truly opportunity out there. And I understood there's other motivating factors, like one is confidence. Like, for example, not cockiness, but confidence. Would you agree that confidence is an attractive quality, right? It's very, very attractive quality. And all of you, I want you to be confident. Now, how are you confident? How are you? How are you most confident? Be the best version of yourself is what I think. Are you the best version of you? Your interaction with the person you love most, was your last interaction the best version of you? You know, sometimes we kind of screw that up. We'll course correct, just fix it and make it right. Okay? Was it the best version of you? Are you trying to be the best version of you? With your kids, was your interaction the best version? With your parents? With your teammates at work, was that the best version of you? How about your referral sources? Did you give them the best that you could be? Did you really add value with your customers? Did you quote them a rate or did you change their life and create wealth? Did you do that? You know, I would ask all my customers questions like, so tell me, what are you most concerned about? And a lot of times it'd be about the mortgage and it'd be a good opportunity. And I'd say, no, really, like, what are you most concerned about? And they would say something like, well, you know, down payment's going to kind of tap me out. I'm a little worried about savings and this and that. Maybe I should. I said, okay, here's what you can do. It turns out you're qualified. I know you're a little low on funds, but you make enough income. Anybody out there in the same position, right? Your clients? I'd say, okay, here's something very few people will tell you. Do you know that on that $400,000 mortgage, if you just put an extra $160 a month in, and now I'll switch it to a 25-year instead of a 30-year, do you know that 12 years from now, you'll have an extra $40,000? And do you know that, yeah, while it costs $400 a month more, but you do qualify for it, do you know that you'll have an extra $100,000 12 years from now when you tell me you're going to sell this home? Did you know that? You could change people's lives in so many ways. Are you quoting rates or are you the best version of you? Do you understand the market to the point where you can explain to people why today is the greatest buying opportunity like we just went over? Is that the best version of you? That's what makes confidence. If you were to say to me, Barry, you've been speaking for so long, what was the best speaking engagement that you've done? You know what I really want to say? Today, for you. Not as good as the one I'm going to do next week in Dallas, because I always want to get better. Just ask poor Marie Hendricks and the nice folks in the AV back there how many times I gave Marie updates to the presentation. Why did I do that? Not to make poor Marie, who's a doll, by the way, God bless her, and she's so great. She deserves a round of applause. Not to make the poor woman crazy, but because I want to honor you. And I want to respect you so much because I know how hard you work. And if I'm going to be here and you're going to give me your most valuable attention, most valuable asset, pardon me, your time, I want to try to be the very best I can be for you. And I want us all to be that way and think that way going forward. Are we the best? Are we preparing ourselves to make that best presentation, be the best version of ourselves? And I promise you, that will give you more confidence than you ever imagined, and you will attract people to you like a magnet. You ever think about why you do this in the first place? Why? Why are you doing this in the first place? What if you started every morning and said, here's why I'm doing this today. I'm doing this for that man I love, that woman I love, and I want to make a better life for them. I want to make them proud of me. What could stop you? What could possibly stop you? If that was your purpose, you're telling me that you're not going to prepare yourself, learn more, make more calls, make more of an effort, be prepared to the very best level you can be? Of course you will, because you know what your purpose is. What about your parents? Well, for me, it was easy with my parents because they sacrificed so much. I think of it every day. Every day I think about that, and I want to honor that. And I want them to see that all of the sacrifices, I thank them every day, every morning. I thank them for the sacrifices they made so I can have this opportunity. Speak in front of an amazing, esteemed group of people like you, have that chance to do that. I thank them for giving me that opportunity. So every day I want to be the very best I can be to show them that their sacrifices were for a reason. How about your children? Your children you'd do anything for, right? You'd walk through fire for your children. Of course, we know that. Well, when I was a young man, I just got into the mortgage business. And I was just blessed with the birth of my twins, Dan and Nicole. And a lot of you see Dan on camera for MBS Highway. Well, they were 2 months old, and I just changed careers to the mortgage business. And man, it was tough. You think I was going to quit because realtors wouldn't give me business? No, because failure was not an option. You know what I did? I went out at night and I knocked on people's doors, honest to God, knocked on people's doors, asked them if they needed a mortgage to buy a home or refinance. Some people threw me out, some people called the cops. But my third week in the mortgage business, I wrote 16 loans. My third week in the business. Thank you. And now, hold on, guys, because I discovered that anybody I was paying money to, I had them as an audience. They had to listen to me. While they're waiting for me to pay them, I had to. Pizzeria, hair cutter, whomever it was. And I took this craziness, because I would get business from it. I took this craziness, even I drive up and down the roads of New Jersey. And what I did, what I was able to do is, instead of putting a quarter in the basket for exact change, which I had, I'm dating myself, what I would do is I'd find the toll collectors and always go to the toll collectors, give them the exact change and my card. And I would say, hey, if I can help you get a mortgage on a home, save you money on a refinance, please call me, I'll take great care of you. I only had 3 seconds, but I would do that. Now my friends would give me so much shit because I was a young guy, my friends would be traveling with me, it'd be a social thing, and they'd have to stop at every toll. Until one day a guy by the name of Steve Horton, he called me, and I did his mortgage and then 17 other toll collectors for the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. I promise you, thank you, sweetheart, thank you. I promise you, I was not the only mortgage professional going up and down the roads of New Jersey. But I saw that there is opportunity everywhere and really money in the streets. And you know what, team? Before my mom passed away, I was able to sit with her and say to her, Mom, you were right. There really is money in the streets. You just have to look, pick it up, and do good in the world with it. And that is my wish for you, ladies and gentlemen, is that you see opportunity everywhere. You see this market right now as an opportunity. And you go get it. You find that money in the streets, and you do good for others with it. God bless you all. Thank you so, so much. Thank you. Thank you.